Look out in the street there. You know what you don't see? My car, because I had to sell it to pay the lawyer I hired when I got busted for drunk driving. Know what else you don't see? My girlfriend, who decided that a guy with no car and no license and no money was no fun. And hey, you know what else you don't see? You don't see me leaving for work in the morning, because I missed so much time with court and everything that I got fired.
Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Sports professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, 15 to watch this week, 15 to 1. Here's 15. Median ticket prices on the secondary market for Saturday's UFC 205, the first MMA card held at New York's Madison Square Garden, sold for nearly $1,600 per seat. Data from Vivid Seats shows the cheapest seat went for about $677, the most expensive over $14,000. As of last week, 37% of the tickets purchased were bought by New Yorkers, but international fans up to the same point had purchased 20% of them. Headlining the card in front of a sellout crowd of over 20,000 was the victorious Conor McGregor of Ireland in his bout with Eddie Alvarez. And Saturday night's bout set a new ticket revenue record, $17 million plus for MSG, beating out Holyfield Lewis 1, with PPV sales yet to be reported. Looking ahead, UFC laid out plans for early 2017, 10 events over the first 3 months of the new year. Highlights include the first Fox event of 2017 taking place on January 28 from Denver, Super Bowl weekend card on FS from Houston, and UFC's Brooklyn debut on February 11 for UFC 209. Here's my take. McGregor's demand after Saturday's bout for an equity stake in UFC shows he's got guts, but the sport may be more mainstream than ever before. Just look at the 2017 card. That's number 15. 14. With Thanksgiving around the corner, 'tis the season to give back. In the past month, Jeremy Lin and Tyrann Mathieu have pledged $1 million each to their respective alma maters. Brooklyn Nets guard Lin's $1 million donation to Harvard will help pay for renovation of the school's basketball arena and for undergraduate financial aid. Three-time All-Ivy selection before graduating in 2010, Lin helped establish Harvard as a power in the academic-minded conference. Former LSU defensive back and current Arizona Cardinals cornerback Mathieu is giving back to LSU. His $1 million donation will go towards improvements in the LSU Football Operations Center. He was dismissed from the LSU program in 2012 after multiple positive tests for marijuana, but he finished 5th in Heisman Trophy voting in 2011 and won the Chuck Bednarik Award that goes to the nation's top defensive player. And here's my take. At a time when it's needed most, sports philanthropy and charity rise to meet the need. Look for all sports to couple their targeted charities with general goodwill and social good as the holiday season approaches. And that's 14. Here's 13. The NFL and virtual reality production company NextVR partnering to bring NFL highlights and post-game experiences to fans in virtual reality. They've identified 3 remaining games this season where the partnership will unfold. Quote, adding the NFL to our growing portfolio of content partnerships further validates our unmatched technology and our ability to deliver an incredible virtual reality experience to sports fans, Executive Chairman Brad Allen said in a statement. NFL fans constantly craving more football, and the partnership meets this demand by delivering an unprecedented virtual reality experience to fans in the U.S. and around the globe, he said. NextVR will work in tandem with NFL Films to capture content in all 3 games. Great opportunity for the NFL to continue experimenting with these capabilities. And here's my take. Clearly, only a matter of time before the NFL entered the virtual reality space, and as usual, look for the league to create exciting and innovative new products that'll add to the revenue expectation of over $25 billion for the league on an annual basis. And that's number 13. Number 12. The LA Rams break ground in their $2.6 billion stadium in Inglewood, California this week. The stadium, temporarily named City of Champions Stadium, slated for a 2019 completion. And according to those close to the project, the first phases of construction begin with excavating nearly 100 feet down for the foundation. Rams owner Stan Kroenke also confirmed the stadium will have a retractable roof, seat 80,000, and part of an entertainment complex on a 300-acre plot of land. The state-of-the-art stadium will host Super Bowl 2021, and the Rams' new stadium will have a role to play in the LA 2024 bid as well. The revised Olympic plan focuses on 4 Olympic sports parks and emphasizes the proximity to public transportation. LA and Orange County region's wealth of world-class facilities, which of course would include this new facility, and obviously the application looks favorable at this time. And here's my take. If the Chargers decide to share the facility with the Rams, that deal will be cut quickly. The facility will become the NFL showcase facility and a rotating home for mega events. And if the Raiders ultimately move to Vegas, that new facility becomes a second mega facility, also in the presumptive Super Bowl rotation. And that's number 12. Number 11. Everything really is bigger in Texas, especially the state's professional sports facilities. Local Arlington voters easily approved funding for the Rangers' new retractable roof ballpark. The facility is set to cost over $1 billion and should be open and operable by 2021 at the latest and 2020 at the earliest. The deal calls for the city to issue $500 million in bonds to help pay for the ballpark. A half-cent sales tax, 2% hotel occupancy tax, and 5% car rental tax would pay off the bonds over an estimated 30 years. And voters also approved a ticket tax of up to 10% and a parking tax for $3 at the new ballpark. The team's current facility, Globe Life Park, can accommodate up to 48,000 fans, but the new stadium expected to be downsized a bit. The Rangers' agreement with the city mandates the new ballpark hold about 38,000, but the team expects it to hold 42,000. And here's my take. The ballot measure comes with a heavy dose of political irony. Traditionally tax-averse red state voters cleared the way for a new Rangers ballpark, while blue state San Diegans couldn't get the same thing done for the Chargers. And that's number 11. Number 10. Cristiano Ronaldo and LeBron James now share a special bond. They're the only 2 athletes in the world to sign lifelong sponsorship deals with Nike. The Portuguese Real Madrid midfielder now set to make about $24 million from Nike, even after he retires, according to the Washington Post. And in total, Ronaldo's earnings from Nike could reach upward of $1 billion over his lifetime. Put the number in perspective, Michael Jordan has only received about $473 million since he first signed with Nike in '93, despite retiring in '93. The new deal comes on the heels of Ronaldo's new contract extension with Real Madrid, which will keep him there through 2021. Quote, "I have a great relationship with this brand," says Ronaldo. "This is my brand, you know. Nike, they're smart. They know how to pick the best ones, so I'm happy because I'm one of them." And here's my take. Nike's decision to cast a deep net rather than a wide one is clearly paying off. Signing fewer athletes with sterling reputations diminishes the likelihood of Nike having to go into damage control if a player goes off the rails. And that's number 10. Number 9. Elite European soccer clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United are known for writing massive paychecks to attract some of the world's best talent. But some clubs stand out from the rest for their ability to sell players at a premium. According to the London Daily Mail, Liverpool ranked in first place on the list of top European club sellers, having sold £384 million over the last 14 transfer windows dating back to January 2010. And the team's biggest single sale came in 2014 when star forward Luis Suarez moved to Barcelona for $75 million. Valencia followed behind in second place, and Italian powerhouse Juventus rounded out the top 3. Juventus just sold over $350 million in player contracts in the past 7 years, highlighted by the sale of Paul Pogba to Manchester United this past transfer window for a record $89 million. Real Madrid, by the way, finished 9th on this list. And here's my take. Like us all, pro sports GMs would rather have money than not have money, even though we know that it can't guarantee happiness. Teams like Leicester City, the Kansas City Royals, and others demonstrate that. But it's what you do with the resources, rather than how much you have, that determines success. And that's number 9. Number 8. As the Detroit Pistons mull the idea of moving into the soon-to-be-complete Little Caesars Arena, facility construction costs have skyrocketed an additional $105 million. Sources close to the situation are unsure exactly why, but City Development Authority officials reassured the revised estimate does not mean there'll be massive cost overruns. The Red Wings move into the new arena regardless of the Pistons' decision, but the prospect of the 2 teams sharing the facility may occur. Officials say the increase is mainly because of more specific prices paid for things such as materials, permits, designs, refinements, subcontractor agreements, and other costs expected to rise in the building and a state-of-the-art venue, which always happens. The total cost of the project, $732.6 million, up from $627 million. And here's my take. While $105 million is really a big number, it's something I don't know. It's not surprising given ever-rising construction costs. Detroit needs to focus on the bigger issue of having top-notch venues that can hold Final Fours, major concert tours, political conventions, and the NBA All-Star Game when you add them all together. That's number 8. Number 7. The University of Illinois announced it would discontinue playing its biennial matchup with Northwestern University at Soldier Field. According to the Champaign News-Gazette, Illinois AD Josh Whitman was disappointed with the game's attendance. He thought it was time for a change, and in 2015, the game drew only an announced crowd of over 33,000 2 days after Thanksgiving to a venue that holds over 61,000. The 2017 and 19 games will now take place on campus at Memorial Stadium. Whitman, an Illinois alum hired last year, taking the school in a different direction than former AD Mike Thomas. And Thomas was adamant about raising the program's football profile in Chicago, a city that doesn't have a dominant hometown college team. But Whitman, in a statement, said, "We feel strongly we should play our traditional rivalry games in Champaign, and our intent is to play a major non-conference opponent at Soldier Field once every 4 years." And here's my take. Illinois' dilemma is similar to the decision NFL owners make when they consider giving up a home game to play in London or another international venue. Is the increased brand exposure worth foregoing the several $1 million in revenue each home game brings? And that's number 7. Number 6. The San Diego Chargers may ultimately leave town in the wake of Measure C's defeat. City residents voted down 2 ballot measures that could have brought a combined convention center annex and Charger Stadium to the downtown area. Team reps and players campaigned hard for the measure, but their pitches didn't do enough to sway voters. Had it been approved, the project would have included a hotel tax increase sponsored by the Chargers, but the 41% support it received fell far short of the 67% it needed to pass. Related Measure D had a similar approval rating, with only 40% of the residents behind it. Chargers chair Dean Spanos posted a letter to fans on the team's website after midnight, thanking all those who helped put Measure C on the ballot. He said that there'd be no immediate decision about the way forward, but Spanos' next move will impact Los Angeles, Oakland, Vegas, and maybe even San Antonio as NFL's massive game of musical chairs continues. And here's my take. Look for 2 teams in LA and 1 in Vegas in the near future. And ironically, as the musical chairs options do continue, the long-term prognosis seems clearer and will probably be resolved in the next 3 or 4 months. And that's number 6. Number 5. The upcoming Ford EcoBoost at Homestead Miami Speedway is NASCAR's championship weekend. There's programming all weekend long. And on Friday, the Camping World Truck Series with revamped Championship 4 format will have 4 drivers battle for the division crown. And on Saturday, the Xfinity Series comes to an electrifying conclusion with its own refurbished playoff format featuring 4 drivers contending for the Xfinity Series trophy amongst a full field. The climax on Sunday with the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship race capping off the weekend. And here's my take. NASCAR will quickly evolve from choosing a new champion to lining up a new title sponsor and generating more excitement, revenue, market stability, and awareness over time. And that's number 5. Number 4. As MLB works quickly toward a new CBA, an international draft may be on the table. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said in the GM meetings that he expressed optimism a new CBA deal would be reached before the current one expires December 1. The potential for an international draft is allegedly one of the prominent topics being discussed. And Manfred also acknowledged that the lack of a deal was impacting the free agent market and creating uncertainty, some of which evolves around the luxury tax threshold, currently set at $189 million, with penalties for offenders escalating from 17.5% to 50% on any overage. He noted, ironically, quote, "There's been a lot of public comment to the effect that the absence of an agreement creates a certain amount of uncertainty. As we've learned on a broader scale over the last few days, markets don't like uncertainty, and that's just something we have to deal with. It's a natural product of the expiration date that we have and always have had in the agreement, and I think the union understands that as well. Here's my take. International sports ruling the day, baseball realizes it as well, and look for them to wrap up a deal very quickly. Number 3, whether or not you voted for Donald Trump, here's one thing we know about the man who will be America's 45th president. He's passionate about golf. So what could his presidency mean for his courses and for the game? His 18 global properties are big-time properties. The $63 million Trump Turnberry in Ayrshire, Scotland, comes in at 22, followed by Scotland's Trump International at 54. The R&A has pulled Turnberry from the Open Championship rotation following Trump's campaign, and while none of the American clubs made the Golf Digest list, Trump's presidential victory elevated his national brand power overnight. In a survey by Brand Keys, the Trump brand rebounded to levels close to or exceeding added value measures that were seen just prior to his announced presidential candidacy in April 2015. And here's my take. 2 things are certain about Trump's golf influence. 1, any trade agreement changes he makes will likely be in the best interest of his golf global holdings and thus will support the game's global growth. And second, since he vowed to turn his business empire over to his kids, he'll be hands-off with Trump golf. Presumably. That's number 3. Number 2, if you were surprised by last week's election results, you might be even more amazed at who's atop Forbes Fab 40. Forbes just released Fab 40, the world's most valuable sports brands. Atop the athlete brand value list at $36 million, Roger Federer. But he had a subpar year on the tennis court, and he's ahead of world champion and NBA MVP LeBron James at $34 million. The third position, 5-time major champion Phil Mickelson at $28 million, who leapfrogged Tiger Woods for the first time in golf brand value. His brand dropped 23% in the past year to $23 million. The Fab 40 measures how much the value and name of each brand all by itself contributes to their value or earnings. Athlete brand values are the amount by which endorsement income exceeds the average endorsement income earned by the top 10 earning athletes in the same sport during the past year. 27-year-old Rory McIlroy, the youngest member of the athlete brand list at $13 million. Usain Bolt at number 4, Cristiano Ronaldo next. And here's my take. It's not surprising that athletes on this list represent 7 countries. Expect the brand globalization to continue and look for athlete corporations to be increasingly global, with assets including international television, worldwide endorsement, and, really importantly, global charities. And number 1, many maintain that sport and politics don't, or at least shouldn't, mix. Yet the result of last week's presidential election will surely have an impact on the future of American sport for many years to come. Before and after the vote, there were widespread concerns that a Donald Trump presidency could harm LA's ongoing bid to host the 2024 Olympic Games and any potential push from the U.S. Soccer Federation to stage all or part of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which some had suggested America might co-host with Mexico. Other sports industry followers speculate the prospect of uncertain trade relations with other countries could negatively affect major league growth aspirations abroad. And whether any of that is actually the case remains to be seen. In the meantime, in a darkly ironic coincidence, the U.S. men's national team lost 2-1 to Mexico on Friday in Columbus, one of the swing states that delivered Trump the keys to the White House last week. And here's my take. On the plus side, Trump's experience as a sports league and team owner could mean that he'll forge policies beneficial to the sports industry at home and abroad. And sports should also serve as an important healing function during the orderly transition of power. Consider the city of Cleveland coming together 4 months ago with the Cavaliers and 5 million people attending a Cubs victory parade 3 weeks ago. Hopefully, the country now focuses on what unites us rather than what divides us. And that's number 1. Beyond the scoreboard, sports professor Rick Horrow, top 15 to watch this week, 15 to 1.